Let's find out together if the GOAT A3000 LiDAR Pro is worth it or not. We're going to see in this video the obstacle avoidance, the string trimmer attachment, its ability to climb steep slopes, and just how generally it cuts grass using LiDAR. This is actually my third robot mower now. This was last year's model. Problems I had with this one were all of the trees around my property would block the satellite sensors, and it would just completely miss the edges, which basically means you have to go out and do weed whacking. The installation's a bit more involved with the satellite dish you have to install as well. The GOAT is powered by dual LiDAR navigation, and it has an AI camera. This all means no satellites, no losing receptions under trees, and of course, there's no wire that's going to be buried under your yard. Installation on this is a breeze. The docking and charging station, it just screws into the ground with these legs, and the robot itself is water resistant, so you can leave it out in rainstorms. Probably if you're going to get crazy hurricanes, you may want to throw it in the garage. Make sure you don't drill into any wires in your front yard. This is the string trimmer attachment. It comes with 3 screws that are going to secure it to the robot, and it also comes with additional spools and blades. The only tool that this did not come with to install was a long shanked Phillips head screwdriver, just to get this one screw from the outside in, and then you can attach the other 2 with just a regular short screwdriver from outside or a drill. The brushes are probably going to help deflect grass down. They just kind of click in place with these little tabs. It's very easy to do. I'll spare you most of the app setup process because it's pretty standard for any type of product like this. You connect it to your home Wi-Fi network. Yes, it does connect to the home Wi-Fi network. You scan a QR code, you put a pin on the unit so that nobody can get access on it unless you give them the pin. Once it's all synced up, you can download the firmware update and remove the sensor cover for the LiDAR. This is where the magic happens. The models that I've used that rely on satellite connection, it's always a little bit hit or miss depending on how the weather is, when the trees grow, when they have more leaves on them. It's constantly disconnecting. I'm going with the manual mapping, which basically means I'm going to trace the perimeter of my property using my thumb as a joystick on the app here. I like the app has a backtrack button, so if you get off course, you can just basically rewind what you did and then turn it a little bit to get it back on course. You really want to spend enough time on this so that you don't have to redo it again. Later in the day, I actually did figure out you can kind of edit it and adjust if it's not cutting in a certain area, which I'll have to go back and do. And then once you go full circle, you'll complete the map section and it'll look something like this. Typically, I break my property up into 3 different zones. That way I can send it out to cut at different times of the day in different areas, depending on what's going on around my neighborhood. Unless you have a really easy property like a complete square or rectangle, like all fenced in, auto mapping is probably not going to be the way to go. After I finish mapping my second area, I always like to make sure that it can make it back to the charging station, so I just send it home real quick before mapping my third and final section. I absolutely love last year not having to come out and mow the grass one time. What I did have to do was a little bit of edge trimming. I'm hoping that this will even eliminate most of that. I'm doubtful whether or not it'll eliminate all of it, but you'll see later in the video what I'm talking about. So whether you're an established homeowner, a busy homeowner, a retired or a senior looking for some way to make your life easier, or maybe you just like tech, there's so many different reasons to try a robot mower. And now that it's fully mapped, we can go ahead and send it out on its maiden voyage to cut this grass. I haven't cut it in like 2 weeks, so it's got some really high spots in some certain areas. It sort of started in the middle of the lawn, I think because I had just finished the mapping and not sent it back home, and I just sent it out from right where it was, but it got to work quickly. It's definitely doing a lot better of a job being consistent with the cut. That's because it has those 2 sections of blades at the bottom. You can log into it from your phone and you can watch the camera. You can actually speak through the microphone if you want. And I busted out my drone so I can get some aerial shots of this thing for you guys, which should be a lot of fun. Always wanted to do this with my drone. I finally got a chance to really put it to work, but it was a little bit windy windy, so the camera's a little shaky, but I think it came out okay. Let me know what you think about the drone footage. Did a great job navigating around a basketball that I threw in front of it a couple times. Looking at my lawn from an aerial view makes me feel like I really need to put some work on getting a more consistent and even lawn. But you can see it kind of going in and out of the playground. It did a great job going back and forth. It even put lines in the lawn that you'll maybe be able to see a little bit later on in the video. This is also on a pretty steep incline, and the 32 volts had no problem going up and down it. It can do up to about a 27-degree slope. You can see a little bit better here how tall my grass is in some areas. It's very tall. It's even starting to seed. And from this angle, you can start to see the lawn stripes coming in. Again, if I had a more consistent grass, these would be even more beautiful. This area is notorious for my previous mowers to be getting stuck under, especially in the springtime and in the summer when the trees have fully leaved. I'll have to go out and rescue it from getting stuck down in these bushes or whatever. So that is a huge improvement in the design. I love that you don't have to rely on satellite reception. And between the artificial intelligence camera and the LiDAR, it can detect all kinds of different obstacles, even pets. I don't have a dog back here, but it does have a feature that you can turn on and off if you have pets that you want to protect. Make sure you turn that on so it watches out for dogs and cats and things like that. Now, its maiden voyage wasn't without a hiccup. At one point, the LiDAR or the bot could not figure out where it was. You can see it's kind of moving around on the map, so it got stuck. I'm pretty sure that's because I never sent it back to charge after I had mapped the third area, because I sent it out numerous times after that and I never experienced that same issue. And I've got tons of crazy angles to test out this string trimmer. But every time I get close to this thing to try to take a good video of it, it detected a human and then it would shut down the string trimmer. What I ended up doing is climbing up on top of my deck where the robot couldn't see me. And this was a pretty good example of it getting close to an edge to do the weed whacking. And I think with a few more adjustments, I could probably get it even closer to the edge on these things. Here's another good example right around the AC unit. It gets right up close to the pad and it really cuts down stuff that I never would have been able to get with the other robots. That being said, there's still so many different corners and things. I think completely eliminating any kind of string trimming is not going to be successful with this. But who knows, after I dial in some adjustments on the map and maybe move a couple things on my property, I might get pretty darn close to it. This was also, I don't know if it was a mistake on my part. I mapped while I was walking on top of this thing. And so the string trimmer was just kind of hanging out in the air, not really doing anything. The trimmer did get stuck right there on the corner, but it just backed out and kept going. And now you can see my grass being a little bit tall here. The lawnmower was a little confused. It wasn't sure if it was an obstacle or if it was grass to cut. This thing did way better than my previous robos would have done though. And I think that once I get this on a schedule and keep the lawn shorter, it's going to do a much better job at maintaining. And I could send this robot a lot closer to the wall. I think when I was mapping this, I was trying to keep it a little further away, but I'm going to extend the map a little bit closer to the edge so we can really try not to have any string trimming. We put a football in front of it. It definitely detected the football and got stuck there until I kicked it out of the way. I also have this wooden sort of threshold on my property. I'm not sure why it's there, but didn't really have any problem going over that a couple times today. At this point, the robot was down to about 20%. So I sent it back to the charging station and it recharged almost to full in less than an hour. It's pretty crazy. I was very impressed. So I went into the settings and I found a setting for AI recognition. And turning this setting on made a huge improvement in its ability to detect obstacles. It made it around the bicycle pump, no problem. And it just barely clipped the frisbee and the water blaster. So I definitely think from that test, that setting should be turned on for everybody, unless you're like anti-AI. But realistically, we should be trying to clean the yards before we send these things out. It'll be really helpful, especially if you have a low-laying hose. I've had them eat the hoses up. Robots are definitely going to make our lives a lot easier. I'm a huge believer in having a robot lawnmower. I sold my regular lawnmower. I will never go back to cutting the grass again. And I'm hopeful that after some fine tuning on this, I won't even have to do any string trimming. Been curious to check out a robot lawnmower for yourself? I'm going to leave you a discount code and a link to this one in the description. Thanks for liking the video. Thanks for subscribing. It's still so unbelievable that this is my job. I get to test these things and bring them to you guys with my honest feedback on them. After this first experience with this, I definitely wouldn't hesitate to recommend this to a friend, especially one that does not want to cut their grass anymore. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.